Hello plant people, Nora the Leca Queen here. Thank you for joining me for yet another Q&A session, and thank you to all of those who actually put a question in, and without you this series would not continue, so we'll just jump straight into it. Marissa S says, will a global green pothos get big leaves if staked or poled? What size of pots do you use when you know your plant is going to get huge with your setup? Okay, global green. I do have a global green, and this is what my global green looks like. And what I really love about this global green is, look at how we started. This is where we started. These are the teeny tiny leaves that this plant had. And as you can see, the leaves are actually getting bigger. But what's even more fantastic is that they're getting more variegated. Look at that, same plant. Exactly the same plant. I love this about moss poles. You know, your plant just starts to do all sorts of fantastic things when you put it up on a moss pole. So Marissa, yes, it does. Look at that. That is a global green. And let me see, look at the size of that. It's almost getting towards the size of my hand. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. And ooh, look at how small it was back then. So the answer to that question, Marissa, is yes. The global green will get bigger leaves as it grows up your pot moss pole. So I highly encourage you to do that. And your second question was about the size of pot that I use when I know my plant is going to get bigger. So generally, if I know the plant is getting bigger, I'll use a 14 centimeter pot, which is what this global green is actually living in at the moment. That's a 14 centimeter pot, and a 20 centimeter pot. I would love to use something in between, something like a 16 or an 18. I haven't been able to find those in the clear version, so I'm forced to jump up from the 14 to the 20. But in terms of getting a plant ready for the future-proofing it, I will use the 14 or the 20. You generally don't need to go any higher unless you're dealing with a plant that has got some seriously massive tubers. Because I know, like a ZZ plant, one of my ZZ plants is not that big, but I put it in a 20 centimeter pot because I just couldn't fit those tubers anywhere else. So 20 centimeter pot would be my biggest pot. But having said that, when you've got a plant living up on a moss pole, you do have a lot of the root system in the moss pole itself. So you don't get a very big accumulation of roots at the bottom there. Using a 14 or 20 centimeter pot is more than enough. And this is talking about plants that are living in Leca, but even my plants that are living in soil, 20 centimeter is the biggest I've ever gone. The problem with going any bigger than that, really, especially when you're dealing with soil, is you run the risk of having root rot with your plant, because as you water, there's so much soil in there, the soil never gets a chance to dry out, so you risk root rot. So I wouldn't recommend getting big pots for the sake of it. Try and make sure that when you're repotting, you're going one pot up, one size up, and not jumping up, you know, to very big sizes because maybe the pot looks pretty. So thank you, Marissa. The next question is from Yoli, and Yoli says, I'm in awe some of your giants. How do you rinse the Leca in those? Yeah, I do have some fairly big plants that are living in Leca. Some of them include my Monstera deliciosa. I've got Bird of Paradise living in Leca, and these are living in 20 centimeter pots. As I said, 20 centimeters is the largest pot that I've got. So all I do is take them to the shower or take them outside. That's the best way to do that. When you've got them outside, I've got my hose and I'm literally just hosing them down. One of these days, I will do a video to show you exactly how I do that. I don't want to do that right now because it's winter in Melbourne and it's freezing. I don't want to be outside with a hose in the cold. So I'll do that as soon as it's summertime. I will show you how I do that with my large plants. But it's simply a matter of putting them in the bath, in the shower, taking them outside and rinsing them down. You know, put them down on a dish or something so you don't have the Leca spilling out. And yeah, that's pretty much how you do that. Let them stand for a little while, let that water drain, and then simply put them back into your reservoir. Thanks, Yoli. Melody says, will I ever see your grow tent? She's shouting this at me. Yes, Melody, you will. Today is not that day, but you will see my grow tent. I promise you this. Genonymous says, are there any tips for plants that need bigger pots? I typically use self-watering pots for semi-hydro, but it's quite hard to find bigger ones. Look, as I said, 20 centimeter pot is my biggest pot, and I use that for my really, really, really big plants. I've got my Monstera deliciosa living on a 2-meter high moss pole, and that's in a 20 centimeter pot. All my very, very big plants are living in 20 centimeter pots. That usually works really well. I don't have any self-watering pots actually, which is quite surprising. I do want to start going into the self-watering pots side of things. I just haven't identified any that I would like to use. But I know that Lechuza does have quite a number of large self-watering pots that you could probably try, and I know eBay does have quite a number of them. So I guess the question is, how large are we talking here? So let me know how large you're talking, and maybe I could help you out with actually coming up with some alternatives. So comment below. And if you're finding value from this, if you're really enjoying these series, please like and subscribe, because it really, really helps my channel and it lets me know that you enjoy it and I can keep on making it with confidence. Next question, Callie. Callie Cutie says, when transferring plants from soil to leca, do you remove the plant from the leca when you flush to remove shed roots? That is a very good question, Callie. The first thing I will say is I definitely recommend that you watch my video on flushing. Just click on the link above and that'll take you straight through it. And I talk a lot about what I do when I'm flushing. But I've got my little Syngonium panda here. Isn't she pretty? Isn't she pretty? That is my little Syngonium panda growing away. And she's living in leca at the moment. And as you can see, her leca actually needs to be flushed. You can see the efflorescence on there. That's the white bits that actually show up. That's there. That is the efflorescence. It needs to be flushed. So when I am flushing this plant, I've had this plant living in leca for some time now. I'm just going to put this under running water and rinse that out. I will not remove it from the leca. In fact, it's generally something I don't recommend you do. Especially for a plant that's been living in leca for a really, really long time. You don't really want to be disturbing the roots that much unless you really need to. Unless you can see there's something going on and you need to inspect the plants, then by all means take it out and see what's going on with those roots. But generally just flushing it aggressively under running water. When you're doing that, you can actually see some root debris coming out there, so that generally is good enough. And especially if you're flushing your plants quite regularly, that really shouldn't be a problem. But you can do that if you need to. Sometimes I find I need to do that when my leca has got a lot of algae on it and I'm just needing to change that leca over because it's just really gross. So in that instance, of course, you will take the plant out and switch it over for clean leca. So it's just, you know, you decide that on a case-by-case basis. But generally, the answer to your question would be no, I don't take the plant out. I try not to disturb the roots. Pauline, hi Pauline. Pauline says, I noticed you do not stress on lighting for your plants. Do you use additional lights? My apartment is dark and I'm thinking of doing grow lights. And what about humidifiers? I definitely use humidifiers, Pauline, and I definitely use grow lights. That's something I very, very much advocate for, and I've said that time and time again. And if you watch my video where I talk about how to grow big plants in your home, click on the link above. I talk a lot about why you need to use grow lights and use of humidifiers if you need to. So I certainly would do that as well. I'll give you a short view into what my setup looks like. I do have some grow lights and I do have a humidifier running right now. Give me a sec. So as you can see here, this is one of the sections where I have a lot of my poles, and you can see that my humidifier is actually running. I do have a humidifier running and that is providing humidity to all these plants that are living here. That is my black humidifier down there, and that's how that goes. This is another corner of my home, and as you can see from the way the video is now looking, it's actually very dark here. It's winter here, it's dark outside, it's dark inside. So I've got my grow lights here. I've got this light over here. It's quite bright, as you can see, and that's helping out these plants here. And I've got these little sort of sticky ones that are just, you know, clip onto a table or clip onto a shelf, and those also provide additional lighting. So as you can see, Pauline, I do have additional lighting, and I greatly encourage you to do that. Your plants will love you for it. Yatty dears, have you ever had an issue with thrips in your plants or tiny little black bugs in your water reservoir? I'm trying to find some wood somewhere. I can't. Touch wood, no, I haven't. And I probably should say yet here, because I'm told everybody gets them. So far so good. I have had to deal with mealybugs. I've dealt with spider mites, and all those are gone now. Again, touch wood. So yes, I do get pests sometimes, but I've been quite diligent with my pest control, and I'm quite diligent in what I do when I get new plants in my home. Everyone gets quarantined, they get a rub down. So hopefully that's a good way of keeping pests out of my home. But using semi-hydro as well, I have found, helps a lot with getting rid of pests. But when I do get pests, I do use, I go full out. I use products that are specifically designed to deal with a specific pest. No, I haven't had thrips, and hopefully I don't. And I wish you all the best if you do have them, Yati. Donetta, hi Donetta. Donetta says, are there any plants that I've transferred from Leca to soil to save them? The short answer to that is no. No, 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 no. Definitely not. As you know, I am the Leca queen. I can't exactly be the Leca queen if I'm moving plants from Leca to soil as a way of saving them, because I think to me that would be saying that soil is superior, which as far as I'm concerned, it's not. And I don't think it's a matter of whether something is superior or not. It's just what you prefer to use. And at this stage in my plant journey, I prefer to use Leca, and I am working hard to learn how to use semi-hydroponics, how to use Leca, how to have plants thrive in that medium. So when a plant is dying, I'm not thinking it's the medium, I'm not thinking it's the Leca, I'm thinking it's me. I'm thinking there's something I'm not doing right, and this is why this plant is dying. So putting it in soil is not a solution. So the answer to that, Donetta, is no, I definitely would not do that. So I'm learning, and I want to persist with this Leca journey and see how far I go. Luzette, hi Luzette, and she says, when you put a new plant on a pole, do you water the whole pole or only where the plant is? This is a very simple question for me to answer, because I guess it was right around the time you put up this video, this question. I have a video that goes into that topic in detail. So click on the link above, and that'll take you through to how to water plants on a moss pole in Leca. So many various scenarios: big plant, small plant, plant on a wall, plant on a thin pole, plant on a thick pole, plant on a moss pole that has a plastic sheet backing. So watch that video and you will have all the answers that you need. And if you don't, hit me up in the comments below and I will address that as soon as I can. Melody, again, once you reach the boiling point, how many minutes do you boil your Leca? So Melody is talking about ways of sterilizing Leca to reuse it, because as you know, one of the advantages of using Leca is that it is a reusable resource. So you can use it for one plant, and then, you know, when you're either changing Leca or for whatever reason, plant is dead and so on, you can use that Leca for another plant. So the easiest way of doing that is to actually put it on your cooktop and boil it, and that kills all the bacteria and so on. So, and I've got my special pots that I use for Leca boiling, And so the official answer would be boil it for at least 10 to 30 minutes. But what I do is I'll just have it boiling there. I do my plant chores, I put my leca on, and I make sure I put a lot of water. So even if I forget about it, it's not going to, start to burn. And then I just go about my business, and then I'll come back maybe, 20, 30 minutes later and go, oh, hang on, I was boiling leca. Why is it so hot in here? Why is it so steamy in here? Oh, yes. And I'll take my leca off and that's it. So, don't sweat it. As long as it's boiled for at least 10 minutes, it really should be fine. Sharon is going to be moving house. I hate moving house. And Sharon will be moving 700 kilometers away and moving 250 plus plants. And majority of her plants are in Leca. Oh, Sharon, Sharon, Sharon. Ugh. I feel your pain, Sharon, because I've just done this and oh my God, it was such a painful process. I just hope you don't have as many poles as I do, because the poles were really the problem. Anyway, let's talk about moving. So first of all, when I moved house, I did chronicle my journey as to how I moved and all the rest of this. And I was, with all best intentions, going to do a lovely video. And then I really got busy with unpacking. And then I really started getting into YouTube. And I thought, nobody's interested in this. I couldn't be bothered. I just, discarded that. And then you asked your question. And I thought, right, hang on a minute. Maybe I should do that. So I will have that video up for you very soon, Sharon. So you'll be able to see what I did and how snippet of what I did was, first of all, you have to prepare your plants. If you've got plants in Leca, give them some TLC, flush the plants, fresh nutrient solution, clean out the reservoirs. Same thing with your plants in soil. Make everybody happy and comfortable. And then I got these like trays where I put all my plants in Leca, and I lined them up, and I was literally carrying all these trays with my plants in my reservoirs and putting them in my car. I mean, I wasn't driving 700 kilometers away, so maybe that's a bit problematic, but you could probably do the same thing. So you could put the trays in boxes or something and have like a proper plant load or something, I don't know. But then I also got cardboard boxes for the poles, and I put them in cardboard boxes, and it was quite a thing. So what I will say, Sharon, is look out for that video. It's coming out soon, and that'll basically give you some tips on how I did, and all the best of luck to you. Take care of yourself, take care of the plants, and arrive in one piece. Melody says, I tried to find the Italian Leca on Amazon with no luck. Can you suggest companies that would sell this product? I know Amazon definitely don't have it. I've tried looking around and I can't find it. I'm not too sure why it's not widely available. I will have a link in the description for a company that does sell it in Australia. I actually sell it, and the place where I get it from does not sell retail at all. So they sell it to me as a retailer, and then I retail it on. So unfortunately, I can't suggest anyone who would do that. And if you did want to buy some, my store is in Australia, so it would be shipping from Australia to you, and there's shipping costs. So if you're happy to do that, I've got the link down below. But otherwise, really don't get hung up on Italian Leca. It's lovely and I highly recommend it. But at the end of the day, Leca is Leca. It will work if you're following the basic principles of how to take care of the plant in Leca. So if you can't find the Italian Leca, don't stress about it too much. If you can, great. But if you can't, it doesn't matter. You can still take care of your plants. And as you can see, I've got plants in Italian Leca, in normal Leca. I buy normal Leca all the time. So, and my plants still do very well. So that's neither here nor there. So thanks for that question, Melody. And Melody wants to know if it's suitable to grow a Hoya on a moss pole. I've seen Hoyas on moss poles. Well, I don't know if they're on moss poles. I've seen Hoyas growing up. Do I want to put a Hoya on a moss pole? Heck yes. Will I put a Hoya on a moss pole soon? Indeed I will, so watch this space. Hoyas have aerial roots. They do. I'll show you a Hoya with some crazy aerial roots. This right here is my Hoya obovata. Look at those. The aerial roots are just insane. They're insane, and they're everywhere. Look at that. area roots. Look, this area root even has secondary roots. Like seriously, it's just so because they have area roots, I don't see why. I don't see why they can't grow on a moss pole, and I will put one on a moss pole very soon. I'm thinking I might put my Crimson Princess on a moss pole. Let me know what you think. Do you think I should put a Hoya on a moss pole? Let me know. And if you have put a Hoya on a moss pole, let us know how that went. Real Kitchen Diva White. Hi, Real Kitchen Diva. And Kitchen Diva scored an Epipremnum Baltic Blue from her local big store. And she would love to lavish her in Leca. Do I have any tips for a Baltic Blue? I've got here my Epipremnum Cebu Blue. I know Cebu Blue and Baltic Blue are not the same thing. They're very closely related though, so I'll just use this as an example. Apparently the Baltic Blue fenestrates a lot quicker. I would love a Baltic Blue because my Cebu Blue is just taking so long. It's got that lovely, look at that one. That one has got a lovely fenestration there. So does this one. So things are looking good, and that's how we started. So that one's living on a moss pole, and it is living in Leca. I would definitely recommend putting your plant through the long method of Leca transfer. And then once that plant is ready, and if you don't know what I mean by that, just click on the video above and that'll show you what I mean when I say the long method. Put it up on a moss pole as soon as you can. Put it in a lovely reservoir, give it some good hydroponic nutrition, give it a nice warm spot with some good light, and that beauty is going to sing for you. And of course, humidity, up that if you can, a foliar spray if you can, and she is going to be looking magnificent in no time. Let me know how you go. I would love to see your Baltic Blue. My Lennox says, is it normal to lose leaves when transferring from soil to Leca? Also, on what do you base your decision to transfer straight into Leca or go with the long method? Also, on what do you base your decision to transfer straight to Leca or go with the long method? Okay, is it normal to lose leaves? Yes, it entirely is. I mean, the plant is going through a pretty traumatic process, as you can imagine. It's been used to living in this soil. That's all it's ever known. Life is good. And along you come, strip all that away and are telling it to do something different. So there probably will be some casualties along the way. And I'll show you one of my plants that's actually going through that process right now. So this here is my Epipremnum Amplissimum. I think this is my Amplissimum Silver Stripe. Look at that. Look at that. How beautiful is that? That's just magnificent. That's an Epipremnum Amplissimum Silver Stripe. Oh gosh. And this plant has been transitioning from soil to Leca using the long method. And I potted it up, I think last week. And look at that. Look at that yellow leaf. That leaf is on its way out. It is going. And in fact, it's probably almost off. I would have clipped it off, but I kept it on because I knew I was going to make this video and you did ask that question. So I wanted to use this as a demonstration. And look at the rest of the plant. The leaves are perky, they're well hydrated, everything else is okay. So this plant is just leaving. You know, I couldn't tell you why. I don't know why the plant has decided that that leaf needs to go, but it's going anyway. Maybe it was one of the older leaves and, you know, everything has a lifespan. And it's now on its way out. It's served its purpose and the plant is saying adios. I don't know, but it's perfectly normal. As long as the rest of your plant looks healthy, it's not something I would worry about. If the rest of your plant is not looking healthy, quickly take it out of that Leca, look at what's going on with those roots and consider putting it back in the long method solution. Possibly, that's something that I might think about. But yeah, that is it, folks. Those are all the questions for today's Q&A. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And thank you for asking me those questions. It helps me become a better plant parent as well, because basically, if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer that I can explain to you very well, I have to go and find out. So I'm learning as you're learning as well. So we're all learning together. Thank you very much. And my Q&A post is up on my community page. Please put your questions on there and I will have the next session ready for you in a fortnight. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.